In my last video, I covered two stories, the Baby Gammy case and the Baby Melissa case. I'll link them above, which highlight the importance of robust surrogacy legislation to prevent any unplanned surprises that were not agreed upon in the first place by the surrogate and the intended parents. Today, I'll be covering the best countries to use a surrogate, and I'll give you my top 3 choices of countries around the world to undertake surrogacy in. My name is Nina, and here at Consumption IQ, we'll be discussing best places to have surrogacy. Number 3 on my list is the United Kingdom. You'll see why in a bit, but surrogacy is permitted in the United Kingdom. However, I want you to consider some key factors before choosing the place you want to undertake surrogacy in. So first thing to consider is that the surrogate mother is viewed as the child's legal parent until a parental order or adoption papers are signed, giving the intended parents custody of the child. The second thing is that surrogacy agreements are unenforceable contracts, and if an issue of parenthood were to arise, it's up to the courts to make a decision that would be in the child's best interest. In terms of payment agreements, in the UK, you're able to compensate the surrogate for reasonable expenses while she was pregnant. There's no legal definition for reasonable expenses, thus the agreement of the amount paid must be determined by the intended parents and the surrogate. Even though this is the law, there have been no cases to date in the UK where a parental order was refused because the surrogate was paid too much. So in the UK, it's illegal to advertise your wish to act as a surrogate, procure a surrogate, or act as a third party facilitating surrogacy arrangements. Thus, the onus is on the intended parents to find a suitable surrogate themselves. There's no upper age limit for couples or women using surrogates in the UK. However, the surrogate mother can be in her mid to late 40s. The cost of using a surrogate starts at £60,000 and costs might increase depending on whether or not the eggs used were donor eggs and if the sperm used was donor sperm. Double gamete donation with a surrogate is not allowed under UK law. This means that the parents need to, one of them has to be biologically related to the child. Both the sperm and the egg cannot both be donated. In second place, we have Greece. So in Greece, altruistic surrogacy is legal. However, you do need court authorization to proceed with surrogacy. The conditions that the intended parents need to meet is the commissioning mother should prove that she is unable to carry a child due to medical reasons. The commissioning mother should not exceed the age of 52. And the surrogate actually needs to prove to the court that she is medically and mentally fit. The surrogate mother and intended parents have to submit their written argument to court, and the agreement could provide for compensation of expenses. Commercial surrogacy is banned in Greece, so is gestational surrogacy. In terms of the court order, it takes approximately 30 to 60 days for a judge to approve it after the hearing date, and once a decision has been made, both parties have the option to contest the decision within 30 days of the decision have being given. The payment of the surrogate is capped at £10,000, the equivalent of a year's salary that she might have missed out on due to doctor's appointments, medical visits, whatever. Greece has the unique advantage of the intended parents being recognized as the legal parents from birth, and the requirements of the surrogate is that she is less than 50 years old, healthy, a permanent resident of Greece, not necessarily a Greek citizen, has a child of her own, and the eggs used are not her own. She also can't have had more than 2 C-sections. The intended parents who would like to use a surrogate can be married heterosexual couples or cohabitating heterosexual couples or single women. Single men and or gay lesbian couples are not allowed to use a surrogate in Greece. Also, there's an age limit on the mother. However, no restriction exists for the intended father. Pregnancy with a surrogate in Greece costs $85,000 to $100,000. And the reason I put it in second place is because of the fact that you don't have to sign an adoption paper like you would in the UK. The child is recognized as yours as long as the court approves the agreement, and that also means that the contracts are enforceable. In first place, we have the United States. In the United States, there's a split between laws everybody has to follow. So there's federal laws and state laws. This means that each state can have their own surrogacy rules that the intended parents and the surrogate mother has to abide by. So there's no federal law for surrogacy. So you have to pay attention to the state that you want to get treatment in. For example, surrogacy is illegal in Louisiana, Michigan, and Nebraska. More surrogacy-friendly states include California, Washington, D.C., Idaho, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Washington, New Jersey, Vermont, Nevada, Connecticut, and Delaware. So in these states, you're allowed to apply for a pre-birth order. So it's a legal document that establishes the intended parents as the legal parents of the child, no matter your sexual orientation or marital status. These states I just mentioned are also open to both altruistic and commercial surrogacy, and they enforce surrogacy contracts, so there's no worries about the surrogate mom changing her mind and keeping the baby, as we might have seen, for example, in the baby Melissa case. So if you're thinking about conceiving a child through surrogacy in the U.S., you're looking at $140,000 to $150,000. The most populous state in the U.S. to undergo the surrogacy process is California. Due to their top-notch fertility clinics and comprehensive laws governing surrogacy. So that's why it's first place. So there's no restriction on marital status, sexual orientation. You are, in some states that are the most surrogacy-friendly states, you are recognized as the parent of the child as the child is growing in the surrogate. The only downside is the cost. It's the most expensive out of the two other countries I listed. I hope this was informative for you guys. Next week I'll focus on countries where surrogacy legislation is not as robust or inclusive. However, there's still options for couples trying to have a baby. Also, I have a website, which I'll link below, which outlines surrogacy laws by country. And if you have any suggestions of content you'd like to see from me, I've linked my email below as well, so you can let me know what you want to see, what you want me to talk about. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next week.